What up, everybody? It's your man Dame DNYDC. If you're looking at my face, you know what time it is. It's Monday night, and we back with a brand new episode. And look, it don't get no better than this right here, man. Talk about Powerhouse tonight. We're gonna talk about Powerhouse. We're gonna talk about HBCU, Howard University, right here in our own backyard with tonight's guest that's joining me on the other mic. Look, she's an actress, writer, producer, really just killing the game, man, by telling authentic stories. And I really don't know any other way to say it. True, authentic stories that really shine. And you've seen her on all sides. You know, you've seen her in films like Frenzy, Twisted Date, Illicit, just to name a few. But tonight, we're talking about one specific film, one that she's got her imprint all on, in front of the camera, behind the camera, all over the camera. She's really doing it big, and I'm proud and honored to be able to bring her to the other mic tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the incredibly talented Lanett Tachel. Lanett, how you doing, sis?
Oh my gosh. I'm so much better after that amazing intro.
Hey, look, you
Thank you. I'm
deserve it.
really good. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. You
Thank
you
you.
really deserve it. I couldn't say it any better. I think that encompasses you at your core. But like every story, and you being a storyteller, we have to really start at the beginning. So give us some background as to who Lanett Tachel is, what her passion is, especially when she's not on set. Because I know you spend a lot of time on set, but what is it that really is your
Uh-huh.
passion when you're not working?
I love telling stories. And so a lot of times that just has everything to do with whether I'm on set or whether I'm not on set. It's one of those things that I just can't escape it. I'm the oldest of four children, and we came from a household that had limited television opportunities. So we were
Okay.
not allowed to watch much. I created a lot. I created a lot because of my mom and her unique ability to be able to tell stories out of anything and entertain us. I've always loved creating worlds and backstories, people watching. The lawyer part of me, they said I was either going to be an actor or a lawyer, but the lawyer part of me is always trying to figure out what led up to these circumstances. Why do people do what they do? And that helps me break down characters and,
I
good
love
or
it.
bad. So I was, and I was, I mean, the champion for my siblings because I was always that intercessor for them. Like, hey, this is why they did this. Why don't we consider that this
Yeah.
is how they got to this? And it just translated into storytelling. So when you say what do I love? I love acting. I love bringing characters to light that are not the typical characters you see every day, or maybe the ones you do see every day, but not always on screen.
Hmm.
But when I'm not in front of the camera, I still enjoy finding other ways to explore these worlds. And a lot of times that means writing so I know, writing based on those I know, and finding other ways to bring groups of people together. So I guess that leans into me producing. And
Mm.
yeah, it's always something. Every day is even now I'm you caught me racing home from set. I was trying to make it to a stable, my home office, but it's one of those. I'm gonna go home and have another production meeting, when I get there. But it's when you love something, you gotta love it. You gotta be a little crazy,
Yeah, that's
but
true. That's
I'm
true.
crazy about what I do. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and that's
Oh,
that's
there
the
we go.
beauty of it, really, because you can not to say that you're crazy in the sense of crazy, but your passion. We see that in your work and when you're on screen, and specifically like when we look at Angie's Cure, which has been described as a I want to be a psychological thriller, but it really taps on a lot of sensitive topics. And you know what I'm saying? You got your trauma, your mental health,
Yeah.
and really a story about resilience too. Though I think
Yeah.
that's a part that really really is the undertone for everything. But as both the writer and the lead actress, like how did you approach just the raw emotion, and the truth uh in Angie's journey, because there was a whole lot of stuff going on, in the film. But like, how did you really approach
Yeah.
balancing that?
Well, I appreciate that you picked up on so many of the themes that are in that film. It was definitely something that we wanted to be able to capture. Myself and my writing partner Corey Grant, who also directed, also Brian Kelsey was one of the writers. We knew what we wanted the overall story to be, and what we realized that we needed was an opportunity to explain everybody's point of view. And since we had
Mm.
so many different worlds that were colliding in the
Yeah.
story, from the police to the robber to Angie
Yeah.
herself, we were like, well,
Yeah.
what are the things that we can touch on that need to be talked about, that are maybe a little bit taboo or difficult to have conversations about in our community, in an organic way, so that it's
Hmm.
thrilling, that it's exciting, and that people can hopefully have conversation. And so my approach was, when starting this work, it's so funny because for those who haven't seen it, my character, I play older Angie. There's a reason for that. The person that plays younger Angie, brilliant actress Mariah Robinson, I'm only in my producer, my writing hat, and just trying to get everything situated as we're still starting production. And with independent film, it's kind of like, to your point of being truthful and being raw and being vulnerable, giving
Hmm.
myself time to get the ball rolling, get that train moving, and
Yeah.
making sure that the production was underway. So by the time I had to slip on my character hat, that the team, luckily the team I work with, brilliant. I trust
Yeah.
everybody with my life, from the director to the DP to you need that, because when you're
Yeah.
switching roles like that, you have to know that you can jump off of one thing and the engine will keep moving. And
Keep
so I
moving.
was able to approach Angie. Angie's a combination of people I know. Unfortunately and fortunately,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately
Yeah.
and fortunately, but her resilience is like so many women. It's just kind of like people hit their breaking points at different
Yeah.
ages, and then
Yeah.
their points where they become an overcomer.
Yeah. You're not
And
lying about that.
I've seen that journey. I've seen my mom, I've seen my aunties, I've seen sisters, I've seen
Hmm.
friends, and it's happens at a different time for everybody. But I feel like what Angie feels when she felt unseen and unheard and dishonored, and she didn't know what to do with a lot of those emotions, and they come out one way or another. I felt like just kind of living in the stories of people that I know and things I've dealt with, and making sure to tap in to that before the cameras, as the
Yeah.
cameras were beginning to roll, because it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't do a service if we're not going to keep it 100. It doesn't do a
That
service to
part.
anyone.
And I mean, it was so. I mean, that's what I said. Like for me, my wife, like we said, it was so real because again, like you said, if everybody, I think I don't want to say everybody. We have family members that have experienced certain types of traumas, um, in our own
Yeah.
families, and certain pieces of it resonated, and it took me back to where a lot of times I didn't really know the full story, but
I don't know that.
as I got older with certain things, like because then you start experiencing it yourself, or your spouse or whatever it is, or whomever. So you put those pieces together, and like you said, the rawness for me, and just keeping it real, like just keeping it at a buck. It was really a transformation film for me, and an eye opener, and it was a good one because we don't see a lot of originals like this anymore. And I
Hmm.
just have to ask too, like just the originals, like where did you and your team kind of come across? Is like, was this a story maybe somebody in the family, or
Wow.
amongst each other had, or was it just like like, because I'm really fascinated by like where did it come from?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So it's a two-part answer to that, I guess. The outlining story of the shop and the robbery, that was a
Hmm.
real story. That was a real
Oh, okay.
story that, well, parts of it anyway. Parts of that story were real, but there was a story that came up in an article, and one of our other writers, it was myself, Corey, and Brian P.
Hmm.
Kelsey, I believe, saw this article and had a conversation with Corey, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This woman broke,
Yeah.
or this person broke into this shop, and this
Yep.
woman defended herself in the shop.
Yep.
Now, in the real story, it took a turn, and
Mhm.
she did end up inflicting some pain on this person. But of course, the
Mm,
story, that was the end. That was kind of what it was. But we took that as a launch point. Like, okay,
mm.
maybe it ended differently for this woman, but what would it take for somebody to snap? What scenario might be the reason? And so you start asking a lot of what ifs. And
Right.
then what kind of person would it take to rob that store? Why rob a store full of women? And then when you start asking
Good
a lot
point.
of what ifs off of a story that did have, then it's just kind of like, huh, well, I bet you he was at his lowest. I bet this, I bet. And so you start filling in
Putting these pieces
the
together.
world, and then you can yeah, and then really start layering it. Like, well, what do
Mm,
we want to say about a lot of these brothers that go and do dramatic things, and
very good point.
and they've got their own points of view as to why they do it, and just
Mm-hmm.
really an exploration of how we view people as aggressors and how we view
Yeah.
people as victims and the things that aren't exchanged. So
Yeah.
there was a real that's such a great question. There was a real story, and we decided to wrap real life circumstances and of
Look.
those around us. We shot this whole thing in Crenshaw. We shot it
Mm-hmm.
in, South South LA. So we definitely kept it very true to the area that we were in.
Listen.
We used local shop owners, top on the shop for the hair salon. So
Listen, like I said, I had to ask it because my mind is going because I'm like, yo, this right here is crazy. But again, I'm watching, I'm asking these questions like, yo, who the hell gonna do this? Like, well, why they? I was like, yo, damn, that's how they doing it. Like, just all of these things, were going through my mind. So I had to ask, and then looking at the film, like, let's again keep it a buck. You had a great cast, like Essence Atkins,
gosh.
Vanessa Williams. I mean, I could go on. And look, listen, people. I'm telling you,
Denise
y'all got to go watch this on
Boutte.
Tubi. You got to go watch this on Tubi. I'm telling you. But it was a great cast. Like, how were you able to get this team together and really join in on this collaboration? Because it really came to life on screen.
Wow. Okay, so the casting, one thing that I will say is that it's always so helpful to work with a really dope casting director. We work with Phaedra Harris, and Phaedra Harris has been casting. I mean, I don't know the theater, but she's been casting for a long time, and she's been really, really important in breaking a lot of African American talent. And she's been, I mean, some of the biggest names in our community. She's put them in at least their first or second project. So having that
Okay.
relationship with her has been great. Met her early on in my journey. And then she was also a really good friend early on in the journey of the director. So having that network already right there was great. And the rest of it, relationships.
Mm.
I know we spoke with the gentleman that I don't know if you recall, a lot of people are picking up on it, but the guy that plays Luther, which is the one who dates Denise Boutte's character
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
he's from the wood. And
yeah.
so
That's
what's
right.
great
That's
about it
right.
is we were like, wow. And so then we ended up with this wood connection because we were like, you know what, we'd be really interested in Sean. Sean who plays JD story. And if
JD.
you
Yeah,
remember, Sean was also in the wood. And
yeah,
so it was
yeah.
just kind
That's
of having
right.
that connection. And then the only other one we didn't and then of course there's DeAndre Bonds who was also so
Yep.
it was some people are loving on social media that they're like, wait, it's the reunion of the guys, but they're all in very, very different positions in this movie. They don't play what they played there, but it's a nice,
Yeah, yeah.
so we see them back on screen.
That's
So
what's
it's yeah,
up.
it's having a great casting director and then having good relationships and people that just buy in to the role. Denise Boutte
Mhm.
buying into a role that she's not played because she's so nice.
So true. So true. And,
A nice
at first it was almost
person.
unbelievable. Like, yo, you looking at it like, nah. Like, because you haven't seen her in this light before.
Yeah,
So it's great. Great.
yeah,
She killed it
yeah.
too. Yes.
But it's great to have actors who have wanted to show a different side of who they are that are often cast in roles that show one side. And that's the beauty of independent film sometimes too,
Mm,
is that a lot of known talent will want to take a chance to say, let me plant this seed over here and expand my work because people will see me in this and this, and say, oh, I don't just play this, or I don't just play the man stealer or whatever the
yeah.
typical thing is that you see certain actors in.
Yep.
Independent film gives you a chance to break the mold. And so that's also attractive with name talent, especially if they trust the project and the team. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Like you mentioned
yeah.
that because this film is also it won the grand jury award for best picture I mean best feature film. I'm sorry. At Dances
Yeah.
with Films, which
Yeah.
has got to be got to be a major accomplishment. And I'm gonna say kudos to you and the team for making that happen. But as a
And
fan and somebody who watches film, like, what do you think resonated most, with the people, that in the audience that kind of watched Angie's Cure?
when we screened it at Dances with Films, what was incredible about that is that we were one of, I don't know, a very small handful of thousands of films that submitted, that had African Americans in front and behind, and not just African Americans, but just minorities in general, in front and
Hmm.
behind the camera. Like our whole crew was pretty much, a minority crew, the cast to tell a story like that. And Dances with Films, we love that festival, and we met so many filmmakers. But at least the year that we ended up winning, there were very few that looked like us. And there was
Wow.
some in like a short film category, some other categories. But for us, what it let us know is that Dances with Films is bringing in all walks of life. And we've even, some of the judges were previous winners that were in, Germany and Russia. And like, so what it told us is, oh my God, this story is universal. And that's what we
Mm,
hoped. We hoped
okay.
that it wouldn't be categorized as a story that just breaks through in our community, but a story that prompts
Incredible.
conversation across
I
community.
love
So we're
it.
proud
Hmm.
to be, African American lead and hold that torch, but we're even more proud that it was received, from
Mm,
people that did not look like us. And so it was a really, really big deal, because it's one thing to have your community embrace you, and that's honor. And it's another thing to have your community and other people who are not necessarily in your closest community push for you, pull for
yeah.
you, and then understand and see a little bit more into your journey and talk to other people about it. So Tubi is our first place that we've launched, and then it's going to go on multiple platforms after that. But we wanted to kind of keep control, in terms of not just giving away our ownership, not giving it
Hmm.
away to a middleman for them to
Hmm.
go,
Yeah.
been there,
Yeah.
done that, but being
Yeah.
able to get it to the audiences that we wanted to get it to. So it was
That's awesome.
the grand jury moment was, it was such an awesome moment. It really was. It was
I mean, th-
unexpected, and we were very deeply honored.
I mean, that's awesome. Like you said, to be able to really build something that's global, right? Because it is something that we all, it's not just one community that's really dealing with situations like this. And really, for me, when I take a step back, it kind of falls into kind of what we've read and come to know about, like you building your reputation as like, you like to create these layered, multifaceted, stories. And the beauty of it is, yes, a lot of
Yeah.
them look like us. That's great. And you're doing that both in front and behind the camera, like you said. But I want to dive in a little deeper to you then, based on that, Lynette. What drives your commitment though
Hmm.
to really kind of keep this type of storytelling, and how do you see its impact on this industry, which continues to evolve or sometimes devolve? Like
Oh.
so. So, like, what is it that drives you? What's that commitment?
Well, one thing is, even now, the way that we are told to refer to filmmaking at this point is content. And it drives me
Okay.
crazy a little bit, because, filmmakers and writers, we don't see it as content. It is, I'm sure. But the
Right.
fact that there's something that could have no soul, no heart, no layers, and it'll go right up beside something that somebody poured, a non-formulaic, plan
Yeah.
into, and put their
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears, and it would just be right up there as content, and it's about the consumption. And so the idea is, okay, if we're training our audiences that all food is good food, let's just try to at least slip in some medicine, slip in something, slip in
Mm,
something that you can take with you,
that's what's
because
up.
the
Yeah.
rate
Yeah.
of people consuming content is, and so if you don't have disruptors, or if you don't have people that hold on to their voice, you just
Mm,
become, like the crowd. You become like the sheep. And I feel that people that have a voice, any, like,
mm-hmm.
whatever your voice is, that thing that's like, I gotta get this made, this is, stick to that, and don't be dismayed or discouraged because people are like, oh, does it really matter? It'll be here and it'll be
That part.
gone. It's forever.
That part.
Film is
I
forever, and
love
your
it.
message is forever, even if it comes and goes.
I love that you say that
Yeah,
because
so
I
that's what
think
I would say to that.
no, I love that because I mean I've had that conversation with other people, people who know me and even doing this, like oh, it's not the same person. Well, you evolve and you grow, and I think the hardest thing to do is really to be yourself and talk about these issues or highlighting people who are doing work like you do. Like this is the hardest thing to do because we're not tearing anybody down here. We're not making fun of anybody's work
Yeah,
or something that's going on. But that's what
yeah.
sells, and that's the world for everybody. At least in my opinion, that's the world for everybody else. I'm trying to bring something consistent,
Mhm,
something that if one person was to sit here and
mhm.
listen to you and the work that you're doing, and they might get inspired to say, "Hey, I want to be like Lanett. I want to be able to go ahead and go out and create, stories and tell these stories, right?" And I think that's what we want, more positive uh creation than this destruction that we have going
Yeah,
on. And I'm just glad
yeah,
that you shared that, that piece, because it has to be a challenge for you too, though, because you're wearing all of these hats, right? And I'm pretty sure big challenges and big rewards. But how do you stay grounded and energized, through these projects? Like you said, you stopping, you talking to us, you're going home, you're having another production meeting for another meeting. Like who keeps Lanett grounded and energized to be able to take these things on daily?
wow. Oh gosh. Well, I'll start that by saying, but God, but
Okay,
God.
okay, okay.
So I def, I definitely am. I definitely make sure that I say out loud whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, which does happen.
Hmm.
Typically, there's a lot of stuff that bubbles up, and then everything kind of moves smoothly. But during the initial parts of prep, it can get a little crazy. And then I
Yeah,
remember to be thankful aloud in these moments for the things that I've asked for, because I know that the things that it's easy to start taking for granted, that I'm exhausted, but I'm exhausted. Why? Because I've
yeah,
been working on the thing that I wanted to do, and I got that opportunity. Why? And so it's kind of like making sure that I do schedule in rest and relaxation, and knowing that that's a priority, because I used to not
yeah,
put that as a priority, but making sure that I do have that light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, I stay grounded because every project is different. Every person that I work with, or if my company's working, if New Breed Entertainment is taking on a project, we might be working with another company, a major company, or a smaller company that has never experienced how we move. And you want to be fresh, and you want to give
yeah,
everybody the same sort of experience.
yeah,
For so certain times, first time writers that I want to work with, first time filmmakers, and it's just important that I don't let my fatigue or anything impede
yeah.
the excitement of and it's a lot of nervous energy sometimes when you're
Yeah,
dealing with different people that in different walks in this thing, and it's just making sure you're a support to other people that you're kind of co-proing with, as well as laying the legwork for what you've got. Like, we've got a bunch of stuff on our slate that's coming up for New Breed. It's between like sci-fi. We have a sci-fi that's coming out shortly. It's in post-production now. Super excited. It's called Athena, and it's 35, and we shot it
okay.
right at the pandemic, right then, and it would have come out so much faster, but our VFX took on a life of their own, which is all the visuals
I
and the
love it.
flying cars, and
I love
it
it.
took on a life on its own, and so we're happy to
Right.
so
I
we got
love it.
that going, and thrillers, and then some dramas. So it's one of those things where I just remind myself, this is what I prayed for, this is
Yeah.
what I asked for, and then I need to know that maybe Tuesday at 2 p.m. I can maybe fit in a massage somewhere. A
Well, I
little
love it.
recharge, a little
I
recharge.
I love it. I mean, may you continue to do it. I mean, time flies. We're at the back end of the conversation, and I just want to allow you. I want you to
Mm.
please share your social media, any website information. Like you said, Athena is a new project that we should be looking out for.
Uh-oh.
If
I
there's
lost you a
anything
little
else,
bit.
yeah, if you have any other projects or anything that you can share with your social media, please go ahead and take a moment and do so. I want our audience to go ahead and get behind you and support the work that you're doing. I mean, you guys are doing incredible work over at New Breed.
Oh man, I appreciate it so much. I guess if I have a second, I just like to shout out my team, Corey Grant at Newbury, Buddha Pratt, who handles all of our post production, Phaedra for casting, just the whole squad. In terms of the socials, you can follow Angie's Cure on Instagram at Angie's Cure Film. We're also on TikTok under the same name. My social actually just started a brand new Instagram account called Actress Lanett. It's actress, and my name is spelled Lanett. My old account got hacked, but thank God for verification now. So, or was it two authentic verifications now? So my new account is Actress Lanett. You can find me on Instagram. Connect with me there. I'm responsive. I'm also on Facebook as Lanett Tachel Proctor. Yeah, those are pretty much the socials. For more about our company, it's newbreedentertainment.org and Angie's Cure Film. I'm sorry, angiescure.com. So yeah, those are all of the socials.
Well, listen, we will make sure that we put all those socials in the show notes. Ladies and gentlemen, get behind the super
Okay.
talented. Yeah, we'll get it. Don't worry about it. We're gonna get them all in there. Don't worry about it. And this is this is the deal.
I believe you.
Listen,
Shout out to the DMV. I am a
all
Prince
day,
George's County girl living in an LA world
man,
all
and then
day. I love it.
There you got it, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we end in today's conversation. The incredibly talented Lanett Tachel. She get out there, get behind her, support her. Her films, her team, and everything that she's doing. And DMV, yo, I want to see y'all stand up and show out. You know what I mean? Show that love and show that support. And it's been another episode, another great conversation here on Two Mics Up. You know how we do it each and every Monday night. You can go ahead and watch Two Mics Up. Season 8 is rolling along on my own new streaming channel, Infusion TV, which is part of the Mogul TV Global Network, the number one network for positive programming. We are now in 47 countries, 100 million viewable subscribers on your Amazon or Roku TV device. So go ahead and download it while it's free, because everything don't stay free forever. So make sure you go out and download that
That
today.
part.
And like we do at the end of each and every show, I'm going to leave you with 3 things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
Mhm.
007.